Good afternoon, or good morning if you're on the West Coast. I'm Brian Manning, and I'm an asylum officer turned asylum lawyer, and I'm here to answer your questions about winning asylum in the United States. So I have a law firm. It's called Political Asylum Lawyers, and it's based in Texas, but it doesn't matter where it's based because we help people all over the country. It doesn't matter where you're located. If you think you might want help with your asylum case, then I want you to listen to what we have to say today. And if you want help or you think you might want help, reach out to us. We help people all over the country. Hello. First of all, say hello. Let me know in the chats. Please jump in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. Love to see where our community is at. Want to see where you guys are located. Hello over on YouTube. Thanks for being with us. TikTok, Miss P, welcome. Ramato Kurama, sorry for the mispronunciation. Mohammed says Houston, Texas. Nice. H-Town. Glad to see you, Mohammed. Thanks for being here. Hello. Nice. Over on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. For those of you just joining, I'm Brian Manning, and excuse me, I used to be an asylum officer with the government, but now I'm an asylum lawyer. I'm using those insights, the knowledge and the insights that I gained from the other side of the desk to help people all over the country to secure their future in America through asylum. And this is the Asylum Answer Show, and I want to answer your questions about winning asylum. So before you leave those questions in the comment boxes, say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. We got Houston over here. Hello on TikTok, Barbara. Glad you're here with us. We've got this question. I can't read that, but it says, my case is stalled USCIS since 2022. My interview is not scheduled yet. It depends on where your case is. I'm going to address that in 1 second. So yeah, let's not take any more of your time. Let's get straight to the questions. What questions do you have about winning asylum in the United States? And we already have this one. The question is this: what can you do if you applied for asylum years ago and you're still waiting? Your case is stuck. It's stalled. And you're just waiting for that asylum interview. What are your options? Can you move it forward? Can you get the interview scheduled? Look, if you've been waiting for years, you may be able to force the interview through what's called a mandamus lawsuit, or an asylum delay lawsuit, we call it sometimes. This is where we're doing a lawsuit in federal court and asking a federal judge, to tell the asylum office, look, you got to do your job. This delay is unreasonable. Give the person their interview and give them their decision, and do it now. It's a very, very, very powerful tool. It works extremely well. Look, we filed over 100 of these in the last year and a half or so, and we haven't lost one yet. Now listen, past results do not guarantee future results. Okay, that doesn't guarantee we're going to win your case or have success with your mandamus lawsuit. But I mention it to highlight that, yeah, it's a pretty effective, powerful tool. Our clients love it because it works. And look, I think the sooner you get your interview and your decision, the better your chances for success. So if you've been waiting for years, please reach out to me. Go to winasylum.com and schedule a consultation now. Like, I want to talk with you. Let's talk. All right. Winasylum.com. Thanks for the question. All right. Utah. We got somebody in Utah. Nice. We've got over on TikTok, L. Arnold says, oh, thank you for that. Nice. What's the wait for an asylum interview in Fort Worth, Texas? You're going to be with the Houston Asylum Office. Okay. That's where I used to work, the Houston Asylum Office. That's where cases in Houston go. So the question is this: how long are asylum interview wait times right now? So look, everyone knows of people in their communities, friends, family, whatever, that have been waiting for an asylum interview for years. Lots of people waiting 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So people are surprised when I tell them that right now, if you apply for asylum right now, there's actually a good chance you're going to get your asylum interview right away, like within 1 to 3 months after applying. I know that sounds crazy because there's people waiting 10 years, right? But that's the way it works. No guarantees, but there is a good chance that if you apply now, you'll get your interview fast. Most people who have applied for asylum in the last about 7 or 8 months have gotten their interview right away. Even though there's a massive backlog of people waiting for many years, I promise you, I know it sounds weird, but I promise you that's how it works. It's because of the way that USCIS scheduling priorities work, and mainly the fact that there's been fewer people coming to the border for the last 7 or 8 months, which means asylum officers have more time to do asylum interviews because they don't have to do credible fear interviews with people coming to the border. So it opens up their schedule to do asylum interviews. And the policy of USCIS is to try to schedule people as soon as they apply. And they're able to do that right now because there is space open on these calendars, because there's fewer credible fear interviews, because there's fewer people coming to the border. So you got to be ready. If you're applying now, get ready. It might be very, very fast. Okay. Excuse me. All right. Let's go to the questions. What do we got? We got Zhao. Thank you for the videos. My interview is tomorrow. Please wish me luck. Wow, says Zhao Silva. Good luck. Yeah. Look, Zhao, I hope you're seeing on YouTube our playlists where we've got playlists with lots of information about the asylum interview. Okay. This is, look, you've got 1 day left before your asylum interview. What I recommend is that you study if you wrote a declaration, really all the materials that you submitted, your asylum application, any declaration, any evidence, you need to study that stuff, especially your declaration. You got to basically memorize your declaration. So that should be your top priority today. Check out my YouTube channel, go to the playlist and look for the asylum interview playlist and watch some of those videos to get ready to know what you're headed for tomorrow. All right. Good luck. We wish you luck. Let us know how it goes. All right. All right. Watching from Willie S says watching from Spartanburg, South Carolina. Nice. Good luck, Zhao. Addie says, hello, Brian, watching from Indiana. Nice. Israr says USCIS interview nowadays. Did you experience any progress in 2025? Yeah. Like I was saying earlier, they're happening. People who are applying now, a lot of them are getting interviews very quickly. Okay. Addie says, how long will it take to get a decision after the interview with a mandamus lawsuit? Good question. The question is this. How long does it take to get your interview if you sue the government in a mandamus lawsuit? And then once you have the interview, how long is it going to take to actually get the decision afterward? Look, we've been doing this a ton lately and it works. Our clients love this tool, this mandamus lawsuit, because it works. I would say on average, our clients are getting their interview probably on average 3.5 or 4 months after we submit, after we file the lawsuit. It's pretty fast, okay? The beautiful thing about a mandamus lawsuit is it also keeps the pressure on the government to give you a decision. Because look, if you get your interview organically, meaning outside of the context of a mandamus lawsuit, people often wait many weeks, months, or even years after the interview to get a decision. But with the mandamus lawsuit, as long as you don't dismiss it until you get the decision in your hand, then you keep the pressure on them to give you the decision. And so for our clients, usually they get the decision within 2 or 3 weeks after the interview, when we've gotten the interview by the mandamus lawsuit route. Okay. So yeah, it's great. We love it. Our clients love it. Addie, we should talk if you're thinking about it. If you're thinking about suing to force your case forward, we should talk. All right. I think you'll like what we have to say. If you want to talk with us, Addie, go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com to schedule a consultation now. All right. Should Ukrainians with TPS apply for asylum despite the current pause on their status? If they're afraid of being harmed in their country, and yeah, they should talk with an asylum lawyer, irrespective of this pause thing. Yes, they should talk with an asylum lawyer. I think it definitely, I think, will still make sense for many Ukrainians to apply for asylum, especially given that TPS is going to end like someday. It's not permanent. Okay. We still don't know exactly when, but it's going to end at some point. It's not permanent. Asylum is pretty much permanent. Asylum leads to permanent residency, which in turn leads to citizenship. So yeah, if a Ukrainian is afraid of being harmed in their country, they should talk with an asylum lawyer. Okay. Lenny says, what is the name of the San Francisco Asylum Office? It's just called the San Francisco Asylum Office. PLOX or PLOX says, if I live in Idaho, do I get to go to the San Francisco Asylum Office? Yes. Yeah. Yes. Which is good. They usually have the highest approval rate in the country. All right. Addie says, thank you. I'm already one of your clients. You're doing a good job. Thanks, Addie. Thank you for commenting. And thank you, Addie, for your confidence that you've shown in us. And thank you for hiring us. Thank you for giving us a chance to support you and to help you achieve your immigration goal. Thank you, Addie. We take it very seriously. It's an honor that we take seriously, and we're going to do everything we can to support you and give you the best possible chance of securing your future in America through Asylum, Addie. So thank you. RDA says, can someone transition from pending asylum to EB2? I entered the U.S. on an F1 visa, but it expired for a few years. Maybe. It's tricky. It's a gray area, honestly, RDA. We don't handle those. It's not my area. So like, if you want to get more confidence around like an answer to that question, I think you should talk with a lawyer who focuses on employment-based status. Okay. Angie says, hello from New Jersey. How close to our interview can we reschedule it? Look, you're probably not going to get, if you request it just like a few days before, you're probably not going to hear back from them in time. And if you could then show up to the interview and say, I'd like to reschedule it, and they'll almost certainly say yes. Or if you just miss it, you just don't show up, then they probably will reschedule it, but there's no guarantee. Look, the policy, the normal thing is to, yes, if someone doesn't show up for their interview, allow them to reschedule, give them one opportunity to reschedule, give them one do-over. But there's no guarantee. Honestly, I would not risk it. I would not show up for your interview unless you get confirmation from them that they have rescheduled it. I would not just skip it. Okay. I would show up. All right. Plock says, so is it smarter if I live in Idaho since it's cheaper than Cali? If you're looking for affordability, cost of living in your life, if that's a priority, then Idaho, yes, definitely is cheaper. But San Francisco is pretty awesome. I love San Francisco. It's a great city. The science of everything. Oh, it says my interview was rescheduled. I'm very frustrated now. I wanted to know if it's wise to put my fiance on my application before the interview, but she has her own application. Let me address the fiance question. If she has her own application, then there's really no risk in including her as a dependent. So I would actually say yes. Sometimes there's a question as to like, okay, do you want to expose that person to the danger of being sent to immigration court if you don't have success in your case? But in this case, because your wife already has her own case pending, like she's already raised her hand, she's already sort of in the crosshairs or in the sight of USCIS. So I would say probably, yeah, I probably would include her on your application as a dependent just because it makes it quicker and easier for her to get asylee status. If you win your case and she is a dependent in your case, then she automatically gets asylee status at the same time that you win your case. If she's not in your case, wait. Keyword. Fiance. I'm sorry. None of what I said applies because you said fiance. I was thinking wife or spouse or husband. You can't put a fiance in your application. You have to be married to include someone as a dependent. You can't include a fiance as a dependent in your case. So if it really is your fiance, then no, you can't do that. If it's your spouse, then you can, and you probably should. All right. But let me go back to the question or the issue, the science of everything raised about your interview being rescheduled and you're really frustrated. You can consider suing. Look, well, first of all, just reach back out to them. Often usually when an interview gets rescheduled, usually they do reschedule it quickly, soon into the future. If they don't, if you've been waiting like over a month, reach out to them and say, hey, anything you need from me so that we can move this forward? Can we please reschedule it? And if they don't respond, or if they don't do it, if you've been waiting for years, meaning if you applied for asylum years ago, you can consider suing them to force that interview, okay? In a mandamus lawsuit. Angel says, how fast can I get an interview if I apply today? There's no guarantees, or if I apply now, there's no guarantees, but there's a good chance you'll get it soon, like within a month or 2 or 3 of applying. There's a pretty decent chance. No guarantees. Not everyone's getting it that quickly, but many people are. There's a pretty good chance that you'll get it right away. Okay. So you got to be ready. You got to go and building that case and preparing. Okay. Israr says, I'm your client and the way you're doing the process, I really appreciate it. And I referred many clients to your firm. Oh, very kind of you, Israr. Thank you. I don't know who you are. because I don't know how to connect the YouTube handle to your real name. But thank you all the same. That's very kind of you. Appreciate you being a client. First of all, thank you for putting your trust in us. It's a huge deal. It's a very important thing. We don't take it lightly. We take it very seriously, given how important this is. So thank you for your trust in us. And thank you very much for commenting and for saying that you're sending people our way, referring people to us. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. We appreciate it. Andres Lopez says, hi, Brian. Where's the rest of your comment? There you go. He said, Andre says, I recently won my asylum case. Congratulations. And got my green card approved. Congratulations. That's awesome. However, my family's case, mom, dad, younger brother, is still pending. My father is the principal applicant. My question is, can I be their translator at their asylum interview? Yes. Yeah, a family member can be the interpreter at the asylum interview, but look, I wouldn't do it, Andres. I wouldn't do it unless you're a professional interpreter with experience interpreting at the asylum office. I would have a real professional interpreter do it. Okay, with experience in the asylum office, even if you speak English really well, I would still do it. Explore Epic says, can an Afghan P2 applicant apply for asylum in the U.S. if she is holding a B1 visa? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyone can apply. Anyone in the United States can apply for asylum. The fact that you are an Afghan, the fact that you're a P2 applicant, the fact that you have a B1 visa or B2 visa, none of that really matters. You can apply for asylum. Look, you're supposed to do that in your first year. There's some exceptions to that rule, though, that we would talk about if you wanted to talk with us. So look, Explore Epics, we've helped a lot of Afghans. We've helped a lot of Afghans win asylum. Look, you would think that all of them should pretty much win asylum, and they probably should, but they don't. Afghans do get refused way, way more frequently than you would think. So you got to put together a good case. All right. Explore the facts. Andres, reach out to me. Okay. You can go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com, or you can call us at 713-909-0401. That's where you can schedule an asylum strategy session so that we can get to know you, get to understand your situation, understand your immigration goals, understand your case, analyze your case, and tell you whether we think that we're in a position to help you. If we think that we are, we're going to explain to you how. We're going to explain to you exactly what we would do, the concrete steps that we would take to give you the best possible chance of winning your case, of securing your future in America through asylum. Okay, that's what we want to do. Lenny says, what are your tips for a personal statement? Is there a key points that really stand out to the officer in a good way? Look, I've got a video on YouTube called The Perfect Personal Statement. That's what you should watch. That's where it's long. It's like 25 or 30 minutes long or something, meaning it's very detailed. That's what you should go watch to understand my perspective on how to do a good personal statement or declaration. Maybe the key thing, Lenny, is you need to address the three things the officer cares about the most, and they're going to spend most of their time asking you about in the interview. Past incidents of harm, whether you've been harmed or whether you've been harmed in the past. And if so, what exactly happened? How bad was it? How severe was it? By whom? And then the second is in the future. What is there that indicates that you're likely to be harmed in the future? Why should the officer believe that you're still at grave risk? And third is what we call nexus or motivation. What is motivating the persecution? Why do the bad guys want to harm you? You have to show that it's connected to or motivated, at least in significant part, by the fact that you, asylum applicant, possess one of the 5 protected characteristics under U.S. asylum law: your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. Look, this personal statement is tricky. If it's done well, it can be immensely powerful. A well-done personal statement or declaration in your case can go a long way in helping you build a strong case and influence the officer in a very positive way. But you got to do it right. You got to do it well. Okay. Most people don't. Most people just spew out everything they can think of, and they provide way too much information that the officer doesn't care about. And it just is annoying. And it just makes it less likely that the officer will actually read and pay attention to the actual important stuff that they care about. Okay. The science of everything says, I need your service because now I don't trust whatever's happening with my case. It was rescheduled twice. Now, yeah, I remember you saying it had been rescheduled. You reached out to Ricardo. Good. You said, is Minneapolis good for asylum applications? Do they approve better than others? Yeah, it is a pretty good place because Minneapolis is under the Chicago Asylum Office. Like that's someone from the Chicago Asylum Office will actually be coming to Minneapolis to do your interview at the USCIS office in Minneapolis, and the Chicago Asylum Office is good. It's not the highest it's not the highest approval rate in the country, but it's pretty good. It's usually like the third or fourth highest in the country. It's overall it's pretty good. That does not mean it has a high approval rate. It's still well under 50%. It's probably 35 or 40% approval rate. Is my best guess. They haven't released data on this publicly in like several years, so it's impossible to say with confidence. But usually, historically, when they used to release data, we could see that it was among the highest, like usually third or fourth highest. Okay. You're welcome, Andres. Motive Clip says, is it safe to fly domestically with pending asylum? I mean, pretty much tough. It's a hard question. I would say definitely don't go outside of the contiguous 48 states. By that, I mean, don't go to Hawaii, don't go to Alaska, don't go to Puerto Rico, don't go to the Virgin Islands, but within the lower 48, as we call it, or contiguous 48 states, probably if you have a pending asylum case, it's the risk, chances of being like detained or having a problem are quite low. I can't say it's zero risk, but they're quite low. Kusai says on YouTube, how long does it take for the decision response after a mandamus lawsuit? As long as you keep the mandamus lawsuit pending, it's usually super quick. Actually, let me address it like this. The question is this: how long does it take to get a decision after your asylum interview if you have forced that interview to occur by way of a mandamus lawsuit? So we're talking about cases where you sue the government in a mandamus lawsuit to schedule your interview. They schedule the interview. The question then is, after the interview, how long to get your decision? Look, we've seen other lawyers do something that is not probably a very good idea with this. They'll sometimes dismiss the lawsuit as soon as the interview gets scheduled. They'll say, the lawyer for the government will say, okay, we scheduled the interview. Will you dismiss the lawsuit? And the lawyer say, sure. But when you do that, if you dismiss it once the interview gets scheduled before you have a decision in your hand, you take the pressure off of USCIS. There's no pressure to finish the case, to adjudicate it and give you a decision. So you might wait a long time. We don't agree to dismiss at that stage. We say, no, we'll pause it for a certain number of days, but we're not going to dismiss the lawsuit unless and until our client gets that decision in their hand. So we keep pressure on them to give you the interview quickly. And usually, yes, they do. Our clients on average get their decision usually probably 2 or 3 weeks after the interview, where we have secured the interview through the mandamus lawsuit process. So yeah, it's fast. Okay. Namabuda says, hi Brian, my asylum case is pending and I'm waiting for an interview. Can I add my spouse, and how long does it take to get a Social Security and EAD? Good question. I think let me address it like this. The question is this: can you add your spouse to your asylum claim once you've already applied and it's pending? And if so, do they then have to wait like 180 days to get a work permit, or can they apply right away as long as you as the principal applicant have already waited 180 days after applying? I mean, the answer is yes, you can add a spouse or child. The child has to be under 21. And they have to have been under 21 at the time you applied, not right now, at the time you applied. But they have to remain unmarried right now. You can add them as long as they're in the United States and not in deportation proceedings. Then yes, you can add them to your pending asylum claim. The good news is, if you as the principal applicant have already passed that 180-day mark of after having applied for asylum, then they're automatically eligible to get the work permit. Meaning they can, as soon as the USCIS says, okay, yes, we have added them to your case, meaning they put in their data and said, yes, in the system, in the computer, this person's a dependent in this case, they're included in it. From that moment on, your spouse or child can apply right away to get their work permit, and they'll get it. They should get it right away, like within a month and a half or 2 months of applying. Okay. So good news. All right. Yeah, what else? What questions do we have about winning asylum in the United States? Junyu Wong says, will criticizing the president be considered a national security threat? No, or at least not yet. I've not seen anything indicating that yet. I mean, look, you never know, but no, I've not seen anything indicating that so far. Thank goodness. Is there a limit on the KIS says, is there a limit on the number of pages for the personal statement? Should it be written or spoken? Okay. The question is this: how long should the personal statement that you use for your asylum case be? Look, we're talking about a personal statement or a declaration, or sometimes it's called a narrative or your asylum story, where you're basically telling your story, explaining your asylum case in writing. Most people do this and they submit it either with their application or later along with additional evidence. And look, if this is done correctly, yes, it can be a very powerful part of your case. It can really help set the stage and help you win your case. But you got to do it well. It's tricky. It's a tricky thing to do well, but if it's done well, it's hugely powerful. How long should it be? You got to keep it short. I think like 4 pages maximum, absolute maximum 5. If we're talking about like single spaced, but use short paragraphs, lots of white space between them. Ideally 3 pages, I would say, honestly, but 4 maximum, absolute maximum 5. I would say 3 or 4 though is better. Okay. You got to be concise. You got to give the officer only what they need. You got to give them everything they need, but also only what they need. Leaving out stuff that doesn't support you, doesn't help you, they don't care about. That's the tricky thing. If you have a good asylum lawyer helping you, then you can do this. Okay. And it can really be helpful. Okay. If I moved from Texas to North Carolina, what asylum office will I be sent to? North Carolina is under the jurisdiction of the Arlington Asylum Office. The asylum office in Arlington, Virginia is where people who live in North Carolina, they have their interview done through the Arlington Asylum Office, which is actually good for you because the asylum office in Arlington has a lot higher approval rate than the asylum office in Houston, where your case would be if you lived in Texas. So it's a good move. It's better for your chances for success to be in North Carolina than in Texas. Nick Thorpe, hello, welcome. Lenny says, hypothetically, let's say an asylee, or let's say someone submits an asylum application. Should they immediately contact your firm, wait and see if it's one-on-one interview with guidance from you? If they are rejected, could you help? Well, look, sure. If you get rejected and you get sent to immigration court, sure, you can hire us then, but why wait? We do not want to take the approach. I recommend that you not take the approach of like, oh, well, I don't really need a lawyer for my USCIS process. If I get sent to immigration court, then I'll hire a lawyer. Don't do that. Try to win your case now. Do everything possible to win your case at the asylum office and avoid being put in deportation proceedings. You don't want to be put in deportation proceedings, okay? It's bad because you might get deported. Go all in to try to win your case now at the asylum office. The sooner you hire us for that, the better, right? I mean, ideally before you apply, okay? I checked our statistics yesterday or a couple of days ago, and I'm pretty sure it said that my office, we had an approval rate. It was either 73 or 74% approval rate for cases at USCIS where we help the person from the very beginning, where we help them apply. And it's lower. Our approval rate is lower for people that hire us after they've already applied. Why? Because the application matters. How you do it matters. If you hire us before you apply, we're able to help you craft the application packet. And that matters. That matters. How you do that will affect your case. I mean, look, after you apply, it's not too late. We can still help you to increase your chances for success, I believe, drastically, a lot probably. But it's better to hire us before, okay? Look, I mentioned a statistic, an approval rate according to our internal office data. That does not guarantee that we're going to win any particular case. It doesn't guarantee that we're going to win your case or any case. But look, we have a high approval rate at the asylum office. I think the national approval rate for people is under 30%. I think like last I saw, I believe it said 28%. That was a couple of years ago. It's probably honestly lower now. And it will be lower with every passing month that Trump is in power. I think it's going to go lower and lower, which means the sooner you apply, if you haven't yet applied, or if you've already applied and you've been waiting for years, the sooner that you sue in a mandamus lawsuit to get your interview, the better. I think if you get your interview 3 or 4 years from now, it's going to be much harder to win. I think the sooner the better that you get your interview and your decision, the better your chances for success. Okay. The science of everything says, can I go with you, especially to the interview, Brian, especially looking at my reschedule notice? I believe someone like you can help win my case. Look, I guess let me address it like this. The question is this. So do I personally get involved with our law firm's clients' cases? Like, do I personally go to asylum interviews and, am I the guy who like prepares you, does the mock interview and the debrief session and works with you on all the phases? No, almost certainly not. I don't handle that many cases personally these days. I'm in charge of setting the overall strategy and making sure that our lawyers are trained properly and that we are handling cases well and properly. But the actual hands-on client engagement and like the preparation and the hands-on advocacy on the day of your interview or court hearing, I don't do much of that at all anymore. But my lawyers who do it are better than me at it. Okay. My managing attorney is an ex-judge. She's got tons of experience in the courtroom and these, sort of adversarial sometimes and difficult, tense, situations. All my other lawyers, I hired them because I thought they would be great at dealing with the clients and doing the preparation and doing the representation. I think that they're better than me at that stuff. I like to think, maybe arrogantly, that I'm still the best when it comes to like sort of like the strategy and how we craft cases as like a model and how we put together the theory of the case. But look, my colleagues are better than me when it comes to actually preparing you and representing you on your big day. They're better than me. So you're going to be in great hands. Okay. Hermela says, I applied for a work permit based on pending asylum, but they said my interview has been decided, so I'm not eligible, but I didn't get the decision. Did you already do a consultation with us, Hermela? Because we had this issue. My colleagues asked me about this issue like a couple of days ago. I assume that's probably you. And I told them to tell the person, look, I think a mandamus lawsuit is probably the best thing to do here, because if you didn't get a decision, if your case was closed, what they call administratively, then there's a pretty good argument to be made that that's not right, and they have to actually give you an interview. And I think the best way to do that is through a mandamus lawsuit. Yeah. Look, Hermela, if that's you, then go with whatever I told, the person you talked with, our asylum strategy professional, to whatever I told them to tell you, go with that. If that's not you, then you need to do a consultation with us so we can talk about this in detail and get to really understand the facts of your case, Hermela. Okay. Look, if you guys want to talk with us, we'd love to have you do a consultation. Okay. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can schedule an asylum strategy session with one of our asylum professionals. We want to get to know you. We want to get to understand your goals, your situation, get to understand your case. We're going to ask you lots of questions. Look, we don't do this like 15-minute consultations that some law firms do. Ours are 50 minutes, 50, almost an hour, because we go deep. We need to get to know you. We need to get to know your case. And we want to, if we think that we might be in a position to help you, we're going to explain to you in detail what we're going to do, what the actual steps will be. We're going to explain to you our 3-part asylum action plan, because yes, we actually have a framework for building and pursuing an asylum case. We have a plan. We have a strategy. Most law firms don't. Most lawyers you talk to, they'll say, you're like, how are you going to help me? And they're like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll talk. And then we'll meet for 15 minutes before your interview, and I'll tell you what questions to expect. Don't worry. I'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. Because they don't have a plan. They don't have a strategy. They haven't thought through how to come up with a framework for building and preparing a case in a way that is gauged to give the officer everything they need to make their job easy, to make their life easy, to help them get to the answer yes in your case in the easiest way possible. Okay. That's what we do. And it takes a while for us to get through this. So that's why our consultations last almost an hour. They're not these little 10, 20-minute consultations. All right. Explore Facts said, or Explore Epic says, thank you. I'll contact you. My asylum case is waiting your USCIS interview. I even got Refugee Support Center case number. I lived in a third country for 2 years for my case until USRAP was suspended for 3 months. Okay. Yeah, we should talk. Explore Facts. Contact us now. Like you don't have to wait. Don't wait even until this show is over, this live. Literally right now, open up a new tab on your phone or your screen. It looks like this. Those of you you're not seeing it on TikTok. Go to YouTube. On YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, you're seeing on my screen a graphic that just shows you like what it looks like on your mobile. When you go to winasylum.com to schedule a consultation, it looks like that. It's super quick and easy to get scheduled with a consultation with us. We want to talk. So go to winasylum.com right now to do that. Winasylum.com. 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 Let's talk. Let us talk. Oops. All right. What do we got? What do we have? Kusai says, thank you, Brian. I'll communicate with Ricardo next week to schedule a mandamus lawsuit. Great, man. Hey, why next week? Let's get started now. Kusai, no, the sooner the better, man. The sooner the better. We've got this, Kusai, we've got this mandamus lawsuit thing figured out. We've got a really good system for this. We make it happen quickly. We make it happen efficiently. I think we're really good at this, and I want to help you now. Kusai, go ahead and get it. Let's get started now. All right. All right. Oh, good. João says, how do you say, I don't know how you say that. It looks like a Portuguese name, or maybe you're Brazilian or Portuguese. João. It's like the English equivalent of John, right? He says, thank you for the wishes. I've been watching your videos for the past week. Really helpful. My interview tomorrow is in Boston. I've been waiting for 11 years. Do I know anything about the office there? Yeah, I do. It's tough. Boston has among the lower approval rates in the country. It's tough. Not impossible. So you can do this. Be brave, be strong, be confident, be ready to tell your story. You can do it. It's not impossible. It's tough, but it's not impossible. You got this. You got this, Shao. I hope you win. Okay. Nobody says, hey, Brian, the future harm probability has to come from the same people that were involved in the past. No, it doesn't. That's the answer to that. It can be anyone. Nick Miftari says, what do you think about dropping a asylum case and waiting for an I-601A to be approved? I think you should not withdraw from your asylum claim unless and until you have a green card in your hand based on something else. Okay. Napoleon Dynamite says, please make a video on questions that are asked in a refugee interviews by a U.S. embassy. Well, the refugee, refugee interviews in other countries, they're not done by yes, they are done at embassies often, or they may be done in a refugee camp, but they're not done by normal diplomats. They're done by USCIS refugee officers. I've been I've been a normal diplomat, but I've also been a USCIS immigration officer. And so I can tell you, I know how this works. It's a USCIS refugee officer that does the interview, and it's basically the same as an asylum interview. Okay. So everything on my channel is going to be relevant. Like, look, the law is a tiny bit different in terms of who qualifies as a refugee while abroad versus who qualifies for asylum while in the U.S. It's a tiny bit different, but not in a way that you need to worry about. Just go to my channel, go to my YouTube channel, which, by the way, TikTok, by the way, LinkedIn, Facebook. My TikTok channel, my YouTube channel is called Political Asylum Lawyers. That's the name of my law firm. Just go to YouTube, search Political Asylum Lawyers, go to the playlist, and you'll find tons of trainings. Okay. But look, Napoleon, it's going to be it's basically the same. For your purposes, you can think of it as exactly the same. Okay. YouTube question, does your law firm have a payment plan? Yes, we do. We have payment plans. We have like an initial payment of a few $1,000s. Most of our case types, it's going to be like $3,500 to $5,000, depending on the case type. Yep. And then for some cases that we have, it's like monthly payments that you make after that. For some cases types, it's like not monthly, but instead like 2 additional payments based like on a certain thing happening, like a phase of the case. Okay. Hello from EOIR Orlando. Laura Rodriguez. You mean you work for EOIR? Laura? Is that what you mean? Or you mean that you're someone who has a case pending in immigration court? I'm curious. You've piqued my interest, Laura. Let me know. As a stateless person who can't leave their country, how to apply for asylum? You can't. I'm sorry. To apply for asylum, you have to be in the United States or at a port of entry, meaning like at the border or an airport, but you can't apply from your own country. Brian, how do you, SDFG says, Brian, do you also conduct Christian asylum seeker cases, and how familiar are you with this kind of asylum cases, and what are the success rates for this asylum reason? Thank you. The question is this. So at my law firm, do we only handle asylum cases that are political in nature, like political asylum cases? Given that our law firm is called Political Asylum Lawyers, I can see where you would think that. But no, we handle all of the different bases for asylum. Remember, to win asylum, you have to show that the persecutors are motivated to harm you, at least in significant part, by the fact that you possess one of the 5 protected grounds under U.S. asylum law. Those are your race, religion, nationality, political opinion, and something called membership in a particular social group. We help people with all 5 of those types of cases, not just the political one, but rather, yes, religion, yes, race, religion, nationality, and membership in a particular social group. So we've had a lot of success with really all those different types of cases, okay? So, yes, not just political type cases that we handle, but rather all U.S. asylum cases. And, to answer your question specifically about religion and Christian cases, yeah, we've had a lot of success with Christian asylum seekers and other religious minorities or other religions. So, yeah, we know I don't know where you're from, SDF, GSDF. If you tell me where you're from, if you're comfortable saying that publicly online, then I'll tell you whether, we've had cases from that country and what I think about it. Oscar, I don't know. Oscar Chacon, I do not know. Ermela says, I already went for the interview. Okay, nice. Rosalind Cimarron says, Brian, have you ever worked with people from Zimbabwe, and what's the approval rate at the asylum office? The approval rate at the asylum office overall is low. It's like, I think last I saw it was like 28% nationwide average. If we work with people from Zimbabwe, yeah. Yes, we've had successful people from Zimbabwe. I've handled those cases both as a lawyer and previously when I was an asylum lawyer, I handled them too. I've been to Zimbabwe. I've been to Bulawayo and Harare. Beautiful country, absolutely stunningly beautiful. Unfortunately, not without its problems, right? But yeah, we know these cases. We should talk, Rosalind. I love helping people from Africa. We should talk. Go to winasylum.com, WINASYOUM.com. Do Egyptians normally get positive results on asylum? It depends. I mean, the approval rate's probably fairly high for Egyptians compared to the national average approval rate. But look, at the end of the day, it depends on you and your particular circumstances in your case. It can't just say, oh, you're from X country. Yeah, then you're going to win, or you have a very good chance of winning. I need to know more. We need to talk, okay? And we talk with people in the context of an asylum strategy session. That's where you can talk with one of our asylum professionals. Look, we want to get to know you. We want to get to know your case, understand it, and analyze it, and tell you whether we think we're in a position to support you. If we think that we are, we're going to explain to you in detail exactly what we would do to build the strongest case possible for you, to give you the best possible chance of winning your case, of securing your future in America through asylum. That's what we want to do. Call us, okay? Call us to talk about that. 713-909-0401. Again, it's 713-909-0401. Okay? Beth says, hey, with the San Francisco Asylum office for 2.5 years, it was only LA office that was requiring 5 years wait. Now you say Houston's 5 years too. Do you expect other offices to follow suit? Hopefully they won't. I'm pretty hopeful they will not. I'm hopeful they will not too, and I'm quite hopeful in the sense that I don't really expect I don't expect our policy to change. Look, there's no rule. There's no rule like that the government has that says you can't sue, or like there's no way that you can win if you sue before 5 years, or before 3 years, or before 2 years. There's no bright line rule about this. But my office has standards of like, we won't take a mandamus lawsuit unless you've been waiting for 5 years in Houston and 5 years in Los Angeles, and then 3 years at the other asylum offices in the rest of the country. That's our internal policy. It's not like a government rule or any bright line rule. Okay. But I'm pretty hopeful that none of the other offices will start fighting, or that it will not be the case that we eventually have to say, oh no, we're changing to 5 years for other offices or for all of them. Okay. Patricia says, can someone file with a valid visa travel outside the U.S. after filing for asylum and still waiting for the receipt notice from USCIS? If they do, will they be refused entry back? I wouldn't travel. I wouldn't travel in that situation. I would wait until you get the receipt notice, and then I would apply for a travel document for what's called an advanced parole document based on your asylum case, and not travel abroad until you get that. Okay. Okay, cool. So Laura says, I work for ICH, an advocate organization that helps respondents that don't have attorneys. We're at the court. Oh, how interesting. Okay, Laura, I mean, I follow you for the Q&A. Cool, Laura. I don't know if you've, on our YouTube channel, Laura, go to the playlist tab, okay? Our playlist, we've got really detailed videos about all kinds of things, Laura, that may be helpful for your people, when you're training new people in your organization, or just for the people that you're helping. We've got really detailed tutorials, including like a 3-hour-long video about how to fill out the asylum application form. We've got videos about all kinds of stuff. Oh, Laura, by the way, I have a channel on YouTube, a YouTube channel in Spanish. It's Asilo Aprobado. Okay. Go to Laura. If you want to, share that with people or find resources there on YouTube, Laura, search for Asilo Aprobado. And I have a channel in Spanish. Okay. Peaceful Man says, what about the Denver interview office? Are they any better than Texas? The question is this: what's the approval rate like with the cases for asylum in Denver, Colorado? Is it any better than, like, say, Houston, Texas? Actually, unfortunately, people who live in Denver or in Colorado and who end up having an interview in Denver are actually being interviewed by someone from the Houston asylum office. So there's not an asylum office in every state. There's only a few asylum offices, and they cover several states. And the Houston asylum office is responsible for people in Colorado. So if you get an interview notice that says, oh, your asylum interview is in Denver at what they call the USCIS Denver field office in the suburbs of Denver, then that's actually someone from Houston who traveled from Houston to go there to that office in Denver and do interviews for a couple of weeks. So yeah, you're under the jurisdiction of the Houston asylum office, and you're actually having a Houston asylum officer handle your case. Okay. Which states have the highest and fastest asylum approval rates in 2025? Well, they haven't released statistics about that in several years. But look, let me answer it like this. The question is this: which U.S. state has the highest asylum approval rates? Well, let me start with this. The South is bad, okay, for approval rates. So we're based in Texas. We help clients all over the country, so it doesn't matter where you live. We can help you everywhere. But where we're based in Texas, approval rates are low, both at the Houston Asylum Office and at the various immigration courts in Texas. Approval rates are low. They're very low in Florida. The immigration courts, like in Atlanta, is very low. But look, the best state is California. Okay, because California has asylum offices in San Francisco and Los Angeles. Both of them generally have very high rates. San Francisco, most years, is the highest approval rate in the country. Also, the immigration courts in California tend to have high rates. New York is a very interesting, actually, circumstance where The immigration court has a high approval rate, but the asylum office, the USCIS asylum office in New York, has a very low approval rate. A few years ago, it was the very lowest in the entire country. So it's tricky. Okay. Sebas Flores says, how long does it take to get a work permit? My friend applied September 2024 and requested a permit in February 25. It's still waiting. Well, look, the question is, you're from Turkey, STF. Yeah, Turkey, we've helped a lot of people from Turkey who want asylum. But let me go back. The question was, the question was this. How long does it take to get your work permit based on a pending asylum case after you've applied for asylum? So look, you're eligible to apply 150 days after you've applied for asylum, which is to say, you apply for asylum, you have to wait 150 days. At that 150-day mark, you're eligible to apply for your work permit, also referred to as an EAD for the initials for Employment Authorization Document, work permit. But the government can't actually approve it until you've reached 180 days. So they wait and they pick it up after it's been sitting in the mailroom or whatever on their file, on their shelf for a month, for 30 days at least, and then they adjudicate it. Most people get their approval about a month and a half after they send in the application. For first-time applicants, this is not for renewals of a work permit based on pending asylum, but rather for first-time applicants. Most of it's very quickly. So usually, look, from the time you apply for asylum to the time that you get your work permit, if you apply as soon as you're eligible to do so, you're talking about 6.5 months, 7 months total. Okay, it's pretty quick. All right. Laura, okay, you already knew that. You knew we had this the channel in Spanish. Good. I've used the asylum application one. Oh, nice. And sent people to your resources in both Spanish and English. That's awesome. Thanks, Laura. Appreciate it. That's awesome. I hope that stuff is helpful for the people you serve and for your organization. All right. Nikki M asks, have you worked with people from Myanmar? Absolutely. I've had a lot of success with those cases. In fact, we've never lost one. We've won every case from Myanmar. Which you may think, look, that obviously people from Myanmar should win asylum. I could see where you would think that, but that's not how it works. People from countries where there's a whole lot of reasons to seek asylum from those countries, people do still lose those cases, I assure you. But good news is, so far, we haven't lost a case from Myanmar. That does not guarantee future success. It doesn't guarantee we're going to have success with this particular person or any particular case from Myanmar. But I say that to emphasize that we know these cases and we've had success with them. All right. Merkfast says, I overstayed a student visa. Can I get help? Did you leave the rest of the question somewhere else? I guess the question is basically, the question is this. Can you apply for asylum in the United States if you overstay a student visa? Look, we have to keep in mind the 1-year filing deadline, right? You're supposed to apply for asylum during your first year in the United States. And this is something that keeps a lot of people from winning their case because they apply too late. But the good news about being a student is that many students can end up being okay applying for asylum several years after they entered the country. How? One of the exceptions to the 1-year filing deadline is called maintenance of status, basically having legal immigration status the whole time you're here. If you have that, you can apply for asylum at any time while you still have that status. If you're an F1 student and you're here for 3, 4, 10 years and you apply while you still have a status, you're good. It doesn't matter that you've been here for more than a year. However, after your status expires, you have to be able to use this exception to benefit from it. You need to have applied for asylum within a reasonable time after your status ended. That means usually like 2 months would be reasonable. 3, probably. 4, I don't know. 6, probably not. Probably the most important thing here though is if you were a student, you lost your student status, and now you're considering applying for asylum, talk with an asylum lawyer about this before you take any action, but do it soon. Do it now, because time may be of the essence in terms of this question of the 1-year filing deadline. Okay. That's going to be it for today. I'm Brian Manning. I'm an asylum lawyer. So I used to be an asylum officer, but now as an asylum lawyer, my law firm, we help immigrants all over the country. Doesn't matter where you're located. We help people all over the country. So if you think you might need help or you might want help with your case to try to give yourself the best possible chance of securing your future in America through asylum, then please reach out to us. You can go right now, literally right now, and schedule a consultation on this website, this URL, winasylum.com, WINASYLUM.com. That's where you can go to schedule the consultation, winasylum.com. Until next time, look, I love being on this live with you guys and engaging and answering your questions, and it's a pleasure. It's an honor, really, to support you in your asylum journey. So thank you, and until next time, take care, guys. Have a good afternoon, and